So what do we know about stereoscopic 3D gamers? Well, first off, as I mentioned earlier, you need to take a little extra effort to get your games to work in stereoscopic 3D. Well, this translates into experts when it comes to their computer. So this means from a game developer's point of view, it means fewer customer service calls, fewer calls for hardware support. It's an expense saver to actually market to this group of people. Also, stereoscopic 3D technologies require 20 to 30% more processing power for the computer. It's important to recognize that when you're producing a stereoscopic image, I wouldn't say double the power because you're rendering 2 images, but easily 20 to 30% more power on your computer to get the game to work as fast as you want it to work. And what this translates to is stereoscopic 3D gamers spend more on their computer than a regular gamer. So they're very high value customers. So let's actually look at this chart. On the left, actually let me explain how we did this chart. Based on the membership from Meant to Be Seen, what we do is we collect information as to how old they are, how much they spent on their computer in the last year, how much they spent on software, and so on. So this is very valuable information. It's the first time information like this has been collected. And if you look at the top left, so the yellow and the green, those are the highest value segments. Okay, they range anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 US. I'm speaking in US funds who spent on their computer in the last year. And then in the green, the 9% represents the 5,000 plus. So these are the people who really spent a premium on their computer. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, that represents the budgets allocated for people who bought these stereoscopic 3D solutions. And as you can see, they spent a great deal more. In fact, 11% more of them spent between $2,000 and $5,000 this year on their computer. 6% more spent over $5,000 this year. So what does this translate to? Well, from a hardware manufacturer's point of view, be it an Intel, AMD, I mean, whomever builds computers for a living, if you market to a stereoscopic 3D gamer, you're looking at an additional $40,000 in annual revenue per 100 gamers for hardware manufacturers. That's a lot of money. And it's because it's a relatively small community, you're actually getting a lot more bang for your buck. Now, another point, stereoscopic 3D is easy to implement. Now, I'm actually going to go into the solutions. Now that we've discussed the challenges, we're going to talk about the solutions, ways to get around it. The majority of the adjustments only require options to remove post-processing effects and proper rendering techniques. Now, what I mean by that is this. I mentioned earlier in this presentation that when a game developer writes a game, they're doing so in a 3D environment. They may not realize that it's going to be displayed in a 3D environment, but it's being rendered in a 3D environment. And unfortunately, because they're taking shortcuts, their games aren't looking as good as they could and they should. And it's very easy to fix. It's just a matter of rendering things at the correct depth and having options to turn special effects on and off. And finally, there's through our website, we're offering a free non-proprietary programming guide. So whatever stereoscopic solutions are out there, it's designed to work with them. Because really, there are commonalities between the solutions as far as game development is concerned. Now, why do it? Why is this important to the game developers? And I pointed out earlier that it's a $12 billion industry. Why should they care? Well, for what we're doing to attract game developers to the technology is we're offering complimentary promotion to our hardcore gaming market, which, as we learned earlier, is very valuable. It's also a competitive advantage to offer stereoscopic 3D compatibility because, if you think about it from the point of view of a consumer, if you're looking at 1,000 game titles on your shelf and you've spent like $1,000 on your stereoscopic 3D solution, you're going to want to buy the game that works, and you don't want to spend a day and a half figuring out how to make it work. So this is a big advantage. Also, as I mentioned, as far as customer service is concerned, if the game is designed to work with stereoscopic 3D, the companies will not be getting customer service calls regularly. Hey, how do I get this to work with my monitor? And most importantly, from a marketing point of view, the games look fantastic. And by the way, later, after this presentation, I'm going to show you samples of what games look like in stereoscopic 3D, and I think you'll be very impressed. Now, what we're doing with the game developers is we're actually negotiating with them to reveal their results. What we do is we certify video games. We play them for a number of hours. We have more than one. We have advisory board members who review games and test them and find the best settings to make them work. So the customers don't have to go through this frustration. And in our opinion, the first game developers who come forward and say, hey, you know what? We like this standard. We like what you're doing. Yes, announce that our game is stereoscopic 3D compatible, they're going to capture the market, and it's a very, very valuable market, as I'm sure you're all aware.